Welcome back to AI Unraveled, your daily strategic briefing on the business impact of artificial intelligence. It is Tuesday, February 10th, 2026. Apple is finally making its move. After years of watching from the sidelines, Tim Cook has confirmed that Apple is preparing to launch dedicated AI hardware, calling it one of the most profound opportunities of our lifetime. Meanwhile, the security world is in a panic over OpenClaw, the open source agent that is breaking everything. But is it a villain or the hero we need to expose the flaws in agentic AI? Also today, the Super Bowl ads fell flat, SpaceX is pivoting from Mars to the moon, and a new study says AI isn't saving you time, it's actually making you work harder. This podcast is created and produced by Etienne Newman, senior software engineer and passionate soccer dad from Canada. Now let's unravel the news.
Area?
It's a unified hub for your entire AI ecosystem. It lets your team use any model they want, low code or pro code, but you control the security and the budget.
So I can see the costs?
Real-time cost optimization and threat detection. It's a secure perimeter for your agents. You get the innovation without the data leak.
Stop fearing shadow AI. Orchestrate it. I've put a direct link to their prototyping studio right here in the show notes. Tap your screen, click the link for Area, and secure your stack today.
All right, let's just jump right in. It is Tuesday, February 10th, 2026, and you are plugging into a very critical deep dive.
Very critical.
We're calling this one AI Unraveled, and honestly, usually when we sit down for this, we're looking at a week's worth of tiny updates.
Right. Incremental changes. A model gets 2% faster, a chip gets 5% cheaper. It's evolution.
It's evolution, exactly. But the last 24 hours?
Oh, this was not evolution. This felt like the tectonic plates of the entire industry just shifted under our feet.
That's the perfect way to put it.
I mean, if you're listening to this, you're plugging into this moment where the whole theory of AI is just crashing into the reality of business.
Crashing violently is a great phrase for it, because we're not just talking about software updates today. We're talking about a huge battle for the future of hardware.
What we actually hold in our hands.
Right. And a security crisis that has, half the internet absolutely terrified and the other half cheering it on.
And we haven't even gotten to the psychological impact of all this on the workforce, which is a big one.
Oh, for sure. So for everyone listening, whether you're a CTO trying to keep your roadmap from just completely imploding, or you're an investor trying to figure out if you should be long or short on Apple.
This is the one to tune into.
This is the deep dive. We're going to unpack the whole menu.
And it is a packed menu. I mean, you've got the sleeping giant, Apple, finally making noise with a rumor that sounds like science fiction.
A little bit, yeah.
We have the whole OpenClaw situation, which we need to spend some real time on. The technical details there are concerning.
Then we're going to break down the Super Bowl. And I do not mean the Seahawks demolition job. Sorry, Patriots fans.
I don't think you sound very sorry.
I am really not. But the ad war between Anthropic and OpenAI, it got petty. It got personal.
And it tells you everything you need to know about the race to become the default assistant.
We also have that really uncomfortable data from UC Berkeley about AI making you work harder.
The burnout factor.
And Elon Musk's sudden pivot from Mars to the moon.
Which actually makes a lot of sense when you break it down.
So buckle up. Let's get into it. And I think we have to start with the biggest market cap in the room.
Apple.
For the last 2 years, I mean, the narrative around Apple has been brutal. They're late. Siri is brain dead. They missed the boat on Gen AI.
It's been the consensus view, right? While Microsoft was shoving OpenAI into everything and Google was panic launching Gemini, Apple was just quiet.
They gave us Apple Intelligence back in 2024, but let's be honest.
It was underwhelming.
It was a spell checker. And a slightly better photo eraser. It was not the revolution we were all expecting.
Not at all. But yesterday, Bloomberg got a leak from an internal meeting with Tim Cook. And the language he used, it was not the usual corporate jargon.
No. He called this moment one of the most profound opportunities of our entire lifetime.
Now, you have to run that through the Tim Cook filter. This is a guy who is incredibly measured. He doesn't do hype.
He talks about supply chains.
He talks about supply chains and user experience. For him to use a superlative, profound opportunity of our lifetime, that signals a massive internal pivot.
And he dropped this one specific phrase that really caught my eye. He said, there will be new categories of products and services enabled through AI.
New categories. That's it. That's the whole story.
Why is that phrase so heavy for you?
Because investors do not care about better iPhones anymore. The market is saturated. We all have one.
Right.
If Apple wants to grow, they can't just sell an iPhone 18. They need a completely new revenue stream. So when he says new category, he is signaling hardware that isn't a phone and isn't a laptop.
We are definitely getting to that hardware rumor in a second because
yeah.
it is juicy. But I want to stick on the software for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
The report mentions a multi-year agreement with Google to use Gemini models for the next version of Siri.
Slated for iOS 27. This is the hybrid strategy.
Okay, help me understand that. Why does Apple, a company with, what, $200 billion in cash, need to rent Google's brain? Why not just build their own?
It comes down to two things: data privacy and physics. Apple has painted themselves into a corner with their brand. They are the privacy company. They promised for years they wouldn't scrape your emails to train their models.
Which is why we trust them.
Correct. But that trust is a massive handicap in the AI race. OpenAI, Google, they scraped the entire internet. Apple didn't.
So their internal models are just not as smart about the world.
Exactly. The models running locally on your phone, they're good at small tasks. Open this app, summarize this article, but they don't have world knowledge. They don't know who won the World Series in 1998.
So they need Gemini to be the encyclopedia in the cloud.
That's it. The strategy for iOS 27 seems to be, if the request is personal, like read my emails and find my meeting, Apple handles that on device, secure, private.
Mm-hmm.
But if the request is something like, write me a poem about a robot or explain quantum mechanics, Siri will hand that off to Google's cloud.
That feels like a really precarious position for Apple, though. It's effectively admitting we can't do their really smart stuff.
It is a vulnerability, no question. It means they don't own the intelligence part of Apple Intelligence. They're just the interface.
Just the interface.
But, and this is the classic Apple playbook, being the interface might be enough if the interface is perfect.
The old enter late, do it better strategy.
Precisely. They didn't invent the MP3 player. They didn't invent the smartphone. They just made them usable. And right now, using ChatGPT or Gemini is still kind of clunky.
It's a separate app. It's not part of your life.
Exactly. If Apple can weave that intelligence into the OS so deeply that you don't even know you're using AI, that's the win.
Okay, so that's the software. We get a smarter Siri powered by Google. That probably keeps the stock flat.
Yeah.
But the rumor that has the internet lighting up is the hardware one.
This is the Jony Ive rumor.
The man, the myth, the legend, the guy who designed the iMac, the iPod, the iPhone, he left Apple a few years ago.
But now he's reportedly back in the mix, collaborating with Sam Altman and OpenAI on a new consumer device.
And the form factor is where it gets really controversial. The leaks are pointing away from a phone. They're pointing towards a smart AI earbud. I have to admit, when I first read this, I got really excited.
You did? Why? Because honestly, my first reaction was deep skepticism.
Because I'm so tired of screens. Look at the last couple years of AI hardware. The humane pin. You had to pin a laser projector to your chest.
It's so awkward.
The Rabbit R1, a bright orange box you had to carry around. They were intrusive. They were weird.
They were flops. Let's just call them what they were. They failed because they tried to replace the phone without actually being better than the phone.
Exactly. But an earbud, that's invisible.
Yeah.
That is the her moment from the movie. Just a voice in your ear that knows everything, sees what you see, if it has a camera, and just whispers the answers. That feels... It feels unobtrusive.
I'm going to have to pour some cold water on this.
Oh, I can see it on your face. You hate this idea.
I don't hate it. I just look at the data. The graveyard of AI wearables is overflowing with these kinds of things. But more importantly, look at the winners.
Yeah.
The only form factor that has actually shown real, sustained growth is smart glasses.
You mean like the Meta Ray-Bans?
Exactly. Shipments were up something like 110% year over year in the first half of 2025. People are buying them. And why?
Because people already wear glasses.
Because people already wear glasses. It's not a behavior change. Samsung and Gemini are releasing their version this summer. That's where the momentum is.
But people already wear AirPods. It's one of the most common things you see.
They do, but they take them out. That's the difference. You don't walk around a dinner party with AirPods in unless you want to be incredibly rude.
Fair point.
Glasses stay on your face. So if the whole goal of an AI device is always on context, seeing what you see, hearing what you hear, an earbud has a massive social friction problem.
Yeah, if I'm talking to you and I have an earbud in, you just assume I'm listening to music or completely ignoring you.
Exactly. And then there's the battery physics. Smart glasses have a whole frame to hide batteries in, an earbud. You have this tiny little piece of real estate.
Right.
If you're running constant audio processing and maybe even camera input, that battery is dead in 90 minutes.
Unless, and this is the trust argument again, unless Apple is the one company that can make it culturally acceptable. Remember when AirPods first came out, everyone said they looked like toothbrush heads? People mocked them.
And now they're a status symbol. That's true. I'll give you that.
If anyone can convince the world that it's okay to wear a computer in your ear 24/7, it's the company that put a computer in everyone's pocket.
That's the ecosystem lock-in argument.
Yeah.
If this Jony Ive device integrates seamlessly, and I mean perfectly, with my calendar, my iMessage, my health data, I might suffer through the social awkwardness. But that is a very, very big if.
But the report also mentioned a safe option that they're working on, an Alexa-like smart speaker with a screen.
The robotic arm iPad thing?
Yes, which sounds so boring.
It's worse than boring. It's defensive. That's Apple looking at the Amazon Echo Show and saying, oh, we should have one of those.
Right.
If they launch a tabletop robot, it's an admission that they have no new vision for the future.
So for the investors listening in, what's the signal here?
The signal is risk. If Apple launches a safe tabletop home device, you treat them like a utility stock. Stable, dividends, slow growth.
Okay.
If they launch this Jony Ive earbud or whatever this new category is, it's a moonshot. It could be the next iPhone or it could be the next Newton.
High risk, high reward.
Exactly. But while Apple is trying to build this pristine, perfect, walled garden of hardware, the rest of the world is dealing with something much, much messier.
Oh, you mean the absolute chaos happening over on GitHub?
I mean the chaos that is OpenClaw.
Let's transition to the Wild West.
Yeah.
So, OpenClaw, or Moltbot, or Claudebot, has a dozen names now.
Because it's been forked so many times. But the core engine is the same.
For anyone who hasn't been glued to GitHub trends, this project just exploded. 2 million visitors to the main repository in 1 week.
That's insane. It is officially one of the fastest growing open source projects in history.
And to define it clearly for people, OpenClaw is an agentic framework.
We should probably break that down. What is the difference between ChatGPT and an agent?
Right, so think of ChatGPT as a librarian. You ask it a question, it looks up the answer, and it tells you. It's passive. It waits for you.
Okay.
An agent like OpenClaw is more like an intern. You don't just ask it a question, you give it a job.
A task.
A task. You say, go research these 5 companies, summarize their earnings report, put it all into a spreadsheet, and then email it to my boss. The agent doesn't just talk. It does things. It clicks buttons, it browses the web, it writes files to your hard drive.
And that doing part is where the entire security industry is currently losing its collective mind.
Losing its mind is an understatement. I was reading a report from Cisco this morning. They called OpenClaw a nightmare scenario.
Palo Alto Networks labeled it a Class A crisis.
I saw one analyst, and this image really stuck with me. He compared running OpenClaw to plugging an unpatched Windows XP box directly into the internet inside a hospital that's running ventilators.
It's evocative for sure, but is it accurate?
Well, you tell me. I read the technical breakdown of the vulnerability. A researcher found that a single malicious link1 URL could hijack an entire OpenClaw instance in milliseconds.
It's a prompt injection attack on steroids.
Exactly. So if I'm running OpenClaw to help organize my emails, and one of those emails has this malicious link, the attacker suddenly owns my agent.
They don't just own the agent, they own everything the agent has access to. If you gave that agent your credit card to buy flights, they have your card.
Oh my God.
If you gave it access to your file system, they have all your files. And because OpenClaw basically bypasses most traditional sandboxes, it runs with God mode permissions, there are no guardrails.
And yet, there are 400 new skills being uploaded to its marketplace every single day. Some of them are explicitly malicious. Wi-Fi cracking skill, DDoS skill.
It is the anarchist's cookbook for the AI age. It's wild.
So this is my question to you as someone who looks at risk. Are we just handing nukes to kids here? If you can download this, run it on a Mac Mini in your spare room, and launch a fleet of autonomous agents that have zero security, isn't that just a recipe for disaster?
I'm going to take the contrarian view here. I think this panic, while totally understandable, is actually good.
Good. People's credit cards getting stolen is good.
No, the exposure is good. Look, OpenClaw is explicitly labeled experimental. The documentation says in big, bold red letters, do not run in production.
And nobody reads the documentation.
Fair point. But consider the alternative. We call this security through transparency. Think back to the early days of the cloud. Remember AWS S3 buckets?
Yeah. 2015, 2016, it was a mess.
It was a disaster. Major corporations were leaving their databases wide open on the internet because they didn't understand how the permissions worked. Researchers would find them, poke them, and the companies would freak out. But what happened?
AWS changed the defaults. They made it harder to be stupid.
Exactly. That pain, that public embarrassment, forced the entire industry to build better controls. We survived the open bucket era, and the cloud is much stronger for it. OpenClaw is the open bucket era for agents.
So you're saying we have to break it publicly so we can figure out how to fix it before it's, running our banks.
Precisely. Because here's the dirty little secret the big enterprise vendors don't want you to know. The proprietary platforms, the ones from Salesforce or Microsoft or ServiceNow, they likely have the exact same architectural vulnerabilities.
You really think the closed systems are just as brittle?
Absolutely. LLMs are non-deterministic by nature. They're hard to control. The difference is you can't see the code inside Salesforce's agent. You can see the code in OpenClaw. We have 180,000 researchers scrutinizing every single line of OpenClaw right now. For free. They are finding the flaws for free.
That's a fascinating way to frame it. It's a global, crowdsourced stress test.
It is. So if there's a CISO listening to this right now, a chief information security officer who is drafting a memo to ban OpenClaw, don't
ban it.
Don't ban it. Study it. Download it onto a safe, air-gapped machine. Let your red team attack it, because the threats they find in OpenClaw today are the exact same threats that are going to hit your enterprise agents in 2027.
It's like a crystal ball for your future threat model.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. It's still terrifying, but it makes a lot of sense. Now, speaking of terrifying public spectacles,
Yeah.
we have to talk about the Super Bowl.
Oh, here we go. Super Bowl LX.
The Seahawks demolished the Patriots. Bad Bunny climbed a telephone pole. But we are here to talk about the commercials.
It was just an absolute barrage of AI advertising, and frankly, it was kind of a mess.
It wasn't just a mess, it was a war. A very specific, targeted war between Anthropic and OpenAI, and it just felt petty.
It was incredibly aggressive. Usually, tech companies just try to ignore each other, we focus on the user. This time, they went straight for the jugular.
Let's break it down. Anthropic, the makers of Claude, ran 2 slots. And they didn't just promote their own product, they specifically mocked OpenAI's plan to put ads in their chatbots.
The Short Kings app?
Yes. The guy asks the chatbot for a six-pack quickly, he needs abs, and the bot serves him an ad for insoles for short kings to stand tall.
It was funny, but it was such a direct shot.
It's so strategic. Anthropic is positioning themselves as the premium option, the Apple of AI, if you will. The message is, pay us, and we won't sell you out to advertisers.
And they know OpenAI is under massive pressure to monetize their free tier, so they're attacking that weakness before it even starts.
And then you had OpenAI's response. They ran 2 ads. One for Codex, their coding agent, which was all Linux and circuit board.
Really builder-focused.
Right. And then one for ChatGPT, showing a farmer tracking his crops. Very earnest. Very, we are helping humanity.
The contrast was just jarring. Anthropic went funny and attack mode. OpenAI went super serious and noble.
But then the real fallout happened in the press. Kate Rauch, the CMO of OpenAI, literally clapped back in Adweek. She said, quote, "Free access is critical. Your ability to pay shouldn't determine access."
She basically accused Anthropic of being elitist for charging subscriptions.
It feels like a political campaign.
And that's because it is a campaign. They are not fighting for a few subscriptions here. They are fighting to become the default assistant.
Like Google became the default for search.
Exactly. Think about your browser. You have one default search engine. You don't toggle between Google and Bing for every search. Most people will only use one AI.
Yeah, you won't have ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini open.
You'll pick one, and right now, it is a land grab to be that one.
But did it actually work? I mean, the data suggests
Yeah.
no.
The sentiment analysis was brutal. The ads scored very low on likability, on watchability. The general public seems to be getting really tired of the AI hype.
It feels like the dot-com bubble ads, or all those crypto ads from a few years ago.
Speaking of which.
We have to mention the money flex of the night. AI.com.
Oh, this was just wild.
Chris Marszalek, the CEO of Crypto.com, bought the domain, AI.com. Do you have any idea how much he paid for it?
I do. $70 million.
$70 million for a URL. And then he launched an agent platform with a 30-second spot that just said, AGI is coming.
It's pure hype. It's just signaling. But it shows you the insane amount of capital that's sloshing around in this system right now. When people are spending $70 million on a domain name, it usually means the market is getting overheated.
And don't forget the Svedka vodka ad. The drunk robot spilling drinks all over its own circuitry.
That one was actually kind of funny, but it also proves the point. AI has become a buzzword that vodka brands are using to look cool. That is usually a sign that we are reaching peak hype in the marketing cycle.
So the takeaway is, the marketing spend shows the land grab is peaking, but consumer sentiment is starting to sour. People don't want to be preached to about AGI. They just want a tool that works.
And they definitely don't want that tool to be blocked by a monopoly. Which brings us to the legal side of things.
Right, from the court of public opinion to the actual court of law.
Yeah.
This is huge news out of the EU.
Yeah, they've formally charged Meta with antitrust violations.
And this has been brewing for a while.
Yeah.
The issue is WhatsApp. Meta has a policy that essentially blocks rival AIs like ChatGPT or Perplexity from using the WhatsApp Business API.
Right.
So if I'm a business and I want to use an AI bot on WhatsApp to talk to my customers, I have to use Meta AI.
Effectively, yes. Meta AI became the only option for 3 billion users. The EU is arguing that that's illegal gatekeeping.
And the stakes here are real money. Fines of up to 10% of global revenue. That's billions and billions of dollars.
And this isn't just the EU. Italy already forced a suspension of the ban. Brazil is investigating. So this walled garden strategy, where these tech giants try to lock you into their own AI ecosystem, it's hitting a legal wall.
This has to be good for competition, right?
It is essential for competition. If Meta controls the distribution channel, which is WhatsApp, and they also own the only product on that channel, Meta AI, you don't have a free market. The best AI doesn't win. The one owned by the platform wins.
While the lawyers are busy fighting that out, the enterprise world is quietly shifting gears. We saw a fascinating headline from CNBC about Goldman Sachs.
This is one of the most important stories of the day, and it was kind of hidden in the business section. Goldman Sachs has tapped Anthropic's Claude to automate their accounting and compliance.
But it's not just that they bought a subscription. That's not the story.
No. The key detail is embedded engineers. Anthropic sent their own engineers to sit at Goldman Sachs for 6 months. They built the systems with them on site.
And OpenAI just announced a similar service called Frontier, which does the same thing. Forward deployed engineers.
This is a massive pivot in the business model. For the last 2 years, these AI companies were just selling API keys. It was, here's the model, good luck.
Right.
Now they're becoming consulting firms.
It sounds just like the Palantir model.
It is exactly the Palantir model applied to LLMs. They're realizing that these huge enterprises don't actually know how to implement this stuff. They can't just buy the model. They need the implementation service.
That completely changes the valuation models for these companies, though. Services revenue is different from software revenue. It scales differently.
It requires more humans. You can't just copy-paste code. You need bodies in seats at Goldman Sachs.
Right.
It does change the model, but it also makes the revenue much, much stickier. Once Anthropic engineers have spent 6 months building your compliance system, you are not going to switch to OpenAI next month.
That's a great point. It's lock-in through complexity.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of complexity, let's talk about the people actually doing all this work.
The humans in the loop.
We have a new study from the UC Berkeley Haas School of Business, and if you're feeling burned out at work, this might explain why.
This study is so interesting because it really contradicts that famous MIT survey from last year that said something like 95% of AI pilots fail.
Right.
Berkeley spent 8 months actually following 200 employees at a U.S. tech company.
And the headline finding, AI didn't reduce their work, it intensified it.
Employees who were using AI tools work faster, yes, but they also worked longer hours, and they took on a much broader scope of tasks.
Wait a second. The whole promise of AI was that I would work less, I'd have the AI write my emails, and I'd go to the beach. That was the pitch.
That is the lump of labor fallacy, the idea that there's just a fixed amount of work to do in the world. What actually happens is the Jevons paradox.
Yeah.
As a resource, in this case, your time and labor becomes more efficient, the demand for it actually increases. If you can write emails 5 times faster, you don't stop. You just send 5 times as many emails.
But the twist in this study was psychological. The employees weren't asked to work harder. They chose to.
Because they felt more capable. If you're a marketer and suddenly you can use AI to do complex data analysis, something you couldn't do before, you start doing it. You expand your scope. You feel empowered.
It was basically burnout with a smile.
In a way, yeah. The optimistic take is that this is the best case scenario for the C-suite. You get higher productivity and higher morale.
Right.
But the critical analyst in me has to ask, is this sustainable? If you are expanding your scope into areas where you aren't an expert, just because the AI makes you feel like an expert, are you actually making good decisions?
That is the danger zone right there. The illusion of competence.
Exactly. Executives need to realize AI isn't about headcount reduction. It's about scope expansion. Your people will do more things. You just need to make sure they're the right things and not just busy work generated by a chatbot.
That's a deep thought. Okay, let's zoom out. Way, way out. To the future.
Simulation in space.
First up, Waymo. We know them for the robotaxis, but they just unveiled the Waymo World Model, which is built on Google's Genie 3.
This is such cool tech. It's basically generative video, but specifically for training cars. They can just type in a prompt and generate a hyper-realistic driving simulation.
The examples they showed were wild. Simulate an elephant in the middle of the road.
Simulate being chased by a tornado. Simulate snow in a tropical city.
This solves the long tail problem
Yeah.
for them, right?
Yeah.
Self-driving cars are great at 99% of driving. They fail at the weird stuff.
The 1%. You can't wait for a real elephant to walk in front of a real car to train the AI. That's incredibly dangerous.
Especially given the recent news about that Waymo vehicle injuring a child, safety is under a huge microscope right now.
Exactly. Simulation lets them train for all the impossible scenarios without risking any lives. It's really the only way they'll ever get to level 5 autonomy.
From virtual worlds to digital twins, there's an Australian startup called Nira that just raised $63 million.
And they build physics-enabled digital twins of power grids.
This feels incredibly timely.
It's critical. We have data centers that are absolutely crushing power grids right now. The demand for electricity from AI is skyrocketing. Nira lets utilities build a 3D model of their grid and predict, okay, if we plug in this massive new GPU cluster, will the cables literally melt?
Or, if a hurricane hits this specific pole, what's the blast radius of the power outage?
It's unsexy infrastructure tech, but it is absolutely vital if we want the AI revolution to have enough power to actually run.
And finally, the biggest pivot of them all, Elon Musk and SpaceX.
Moving from Mars to the moon.
For years, it's been Mars, Mars, Mars. Colonize the red planet, that was the whole brand. But now, SpaceX is prioritizing a self-growing city on the moon.
And the logic behind it is pure engineering efficiency. It's all about the feedback loop.
Break down the math for us. Why the sudden shift?
It's a transit time. A trip to the moon takes about 3 days, and you can launch pretty much any time you want. You could launch a new mission every 10 days if you had the rocket.
And Mars.
A trip to Mars takes 6 to 9 months, one way. And you can only launch every 26 months when the planets align just right.
So if you're trying to build a city,
If you're trying to iterate, to test your rockets, your habitats, your life support systems, you can learn 100 times faster on the moon. If something breaks on the moon, you send a replacement part next week.
if something breaks on Mars, you're dead.
You're dead. It's agile methodology applied to space colonization.
Fail fast, fix fast.
Exactly. And you can see Musk connecting all his companies here. XAI provides the brain for the robots, Starlink provides the communications, the rockets provide the transport. He wants to build factories that don't rely on Earth. The moon is the practice run.
That is actually very sensible,
Yeah.
which is surprising.
Sometimes the physics just dictates the strategy. You can't really argue with orbital mechanics.
All right, we are running close to time, but we have to hit the quick hits. The wait, what section?
Rapid fire, let's do it.
Called Opus 4.6. Anthropic released a report saying their model found over 500 flaws in major open source libraries.
This is huge. It wasn't just scanning the code. It analyzed the commit histories, the history of the code, to find logic flaws that human testers completely missed. It proves AI can be a defensive weapon, not just an offensive one.
Biorobots. The University of Southern Denmark made a soft robot that mimics limbless animals.
Like a worm.
Or a snake. Think about search and rescue in the rubble of a collapsed building. It's creepy, but incredibly useful.
ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok, they claim their Cadence 2.0 model now surpasses OpenAI's Sora 2 in video generation.
The video generation war is just heating up. China is not far behind at all.
And finally, my favorite one, MIT researchers are using AI to improve figure skating.
Analyzing the biomechanics of the jumps, helping skaters land those quads. It's a small example, but it just shows how AI is touching literally every single domain you can think of.
It's incredible. Okay, let's wrap this all up. What's the synthesis here? What's the big theme from the last 24 hours?
I think the theme today is maturation. We're moving past that initial wow phase of generative AI.
Apple is trying to build reliable, useful hardware, not just tech demos. Open source is stress testing security in the wild, not just in a lab. Space exploration is optimizing for the speed of iteration, not just for big dreams. It feels like we're getting serious.
The toys are becoming tools.
Yeah.
Some of those tools are becoming dangerous if we're not careful.
Exactly.
Okay, so here is my final thought for everyone to chew on. Let's go back to that Berkeley study for a second.
Okay.
If AI makes us work harder because we feel more capable, what happens when that feeling of capability starts to outpace our actual judgment?
That is the billion-dollar question, isn't it?
Are we just accelerating towards bigger, faster mistakes? Are we building a world where we are all confident, productive, and completely, utterly wrong?
Let's hope not, but it's definitely something worth watching.
Indeed. Thanks for diving deep with us. Keep your neural nets open.
Stay curious.
That wraps up today's briefing. The signal for today is transparency. Whether it's the open source chaos of OpenClaw revealing security flaws, or the Super Bowl ads forcing companies to show their true colors, the black boxes are opening up. And for Apple, transparency means finally showing us hardware that delivers on the AI promise. This podcast is created and produced by Etienne Newman, senior software engineer and passionate soccer dad from Canada. Please subscribe and share. Until tomorrow, keep unraveling the future.
And before you go, if your company is building the tools that power the workflows we talked about today, I'd love to showcase them to this audience. We don't just run ads, we build technical simulations that prove your value. Let's build something together. Visit jamgamind.com/partners to get started. Until next time, keep building.